Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis Torres, part of the SoleSavy podcast. On the latest episode, I'm joined by the one and only Mike Wright from the Fantasy Footballers. If you're not familiar with them, you're sleeping on the game. Mike, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, my man. I appreciate you having me on. I talk, like you said, mostly football. I've never actually got to jump on a show and talk about just sneakers and Nike SBs and stuff. So this is a breath of fresh air for me.
Obviously, we're going to get into the sneaker stuff in a sec, but talk to me about the Fantasy Footballers, how you guys started, the trajectory, what it's been like. Clearly, you have a pretty solid setup going. So yeah, just talk to me about, the journey.
Sure. So the Fantasy Footballers, this will shock you. We are a program dedicated to the game of fantasy football. Sometimes the name creates itself. But we've been around, I think we're going into our 7th season. We are the largest independent fantasy football podcast in the known universe. For us, we're recording this in mid-July, and it is about to be go time for us as NFL training camp is right around the corner. For us, that means 5 shows a week through the end of the NFL season. Every morning, we'll be jumping into your pockets if you want to subscribe at the Fantasy Footballers. We'll help you win your fantasy football league, and we'll also make sure that you have a good time, not only just playing but listening to us. We keep it light. We're also an entertainment show at the same time as giving our fantasy football advice. I promise you, check us out. We are going to help you win more.
Your guys' dynamic, what's it like? I know there's 3 of you, and you're all based out of AZ. Talk to me about how you guys, your origin story.
Yeah, we're in Arizona. The 3 of us are all natives. Shockingly, it's not all that common right now in Phoenix. We're more of a transplant city. So the origin story of the podcast, we all used to work, the 3 of us together. So there's me, Andy Holloway, and Jason Moore, and we all worked for a tech company, and we made games. We made Facebook games back in the heyday of when Farmville was all the rage. We were making some other games. We did some iOS games. But fantasy football was really the passion of not just us, but a lot of the people in the office. So most lunches, most off time, a lot of on work time, we're just talking about fantasy football and having a good time. We all want to win. If you lose on a Sunday, you feel bad. It affects your mood. That's how much we care about this stupid fake fantasy football game we play. And part of that is we try to take the whole league up a notch. We always do a live draft. Everybody is there. COVID and lockdown kind of screwed everything up, but we would have one of our friends be an announcer. So it was like the actual NFL draft. We'd write our picks down on the card. It's a really good time that we take the correct amount of too serious but not serious at the same time, recognizing what it is. And one year, Andy and I were discussing saying, hey, what if we did a podcast just for this league, and we'll break down what happened? Did anybody do something really smart with a bench move for their fantasy team? Did anyone do something stupid? And so that turned into a show where once a week we'd take our lunch hour during the season and we'd make this podcast. And it was just for the 12 of us who played. And then we said, hey, we're already putting all this work in here. What if we actually tried to record a real one that would go out to the public? And we were awful. We sucked. The show was terrible. And we were like, why is the show bad? And we realized that as soon as we started trying to make this show for other people to listen to, our metaphoric suit jacket and ties came on, and we tried to be proper. This is what a sports radio voice sounds like. And we breaking down the analysis, and we lost all of the joy and the zaniness and just us being us, that the show just for our league, we lost it. Eventually that tech company that's making the games goes under, unfortunately, and all 3 of us are looking for a job. And Andy and I are discussing, do we try and keep the podcast going? I don't know. Well, what if we do? What if we give it a shot and we bring Jason in? Let's get a third voice in here. Jason's probably the funniest person I know. He did some work with the Groundlings. He's an improv comedy guy. He's very funny. We took a shot on it while everyone's doing their jobs. Jason's working at T-Mobile. Those guys eventually get a real estate license, and I'm over here. I think I'm doing band stuff. I'm trying to make a beard oil company. We're all just scraping it together on the side. We're recording at 11 at night once a week or so. We're trying to make this podcast happen. And right time, right place, man, as some listeners start coming in, and we see in July they're our first year. Guys, I think we can make this happen. We have a listenership, we have a base and a foundation that if this grows, we could probably make this a real job. So we went for it. And now 7 years later, here we are.
Talk to me about your sneaker journey. I know you're a big Nike SB guy.
My origin story into shoes. I didn't start out as a sneaker guy. That's not been my entire life. But in high school, I got this pair of I got a pair of Nikes. I don't even remember what they were at the time. So I mean, I'm in high school, so this is 20 years ago or so. But the outside of it is like a textured green. It almost looked like grass. So I was like, these are really unique. I love, and I wore these things into the ground. I'm talking the heel of my shoe ripped off and I duct taped it back together because I did not want to get rid of these shoes. I love this particular pair so much. So anyways, so time goes on. Happens to be time for me to be looking for a new pair of shoes. I end up in a skate shop and there's a pair of Oscar the Grouch Nike SBs. And I'm like, holy crap. These look like my shoes from high school. They're like this grassy green. And at the time, I didn't know they were Oscars, themes to look like Oscar the Grouch. And the stupid store didn't have my size, but I didn't give up. I was like, I'm going to find these shoes. So I jump on the internet. I'm trying to find them. And then holy crap, like, a person going into the Matrix for the first time, I'm exposed to the world of Nike SB and all of the craziness that the themed shoes, the colorways of all of these things. And immediately I was brought into, I feel like it was like Nike-SB.org or something like that. It was an online forum where people were buying, selling, trading, just all the news about upcoming shoes. That's where I found all of that stuff. But I get my Oscars. I looking around, and then there's these mids called a peacock, where it's like an intricate design, and then like a blue color and got red laces. It's like, well, how do I get these? And that was my first exposure to, well, they are no longer in a store. You have to figure out how are you going to get this pair of shoes. And I end up buying not only buying shoes from a stranger on the internet, I bought used shoes. Someone else's feet were in this shoe. And once I was able to get over it's a little off-putting, your feet are pretty gross. I mean, that's my feet. Like, I think my feet are gross. That's your feet. Your feet are way worse than mine. But I go for it, man. I trust the system. I send some money on PayPal. And from there on out, man. So now where I have, like 70 plus pairs of Nike SBs. And I made a promise to my wife that I followed, for the most part, is I keep my collecting to Nike SB.
Is there like a favorite pair? I mean, I know you mentioned the Grouch, like that kind of being like that
was the first one.
The genesis of where you're at now in terms of your sneaker collection. But is there a favorite one that you just, prized possession, Grail status almost?
Right. Yeah, my Grail and I found it as soon as I was into the collecting. So to back it up a little bit, if there's a backstory to the shoe, I'm already super intrigued. And then if you mismatch these shoes, oh brother, those are I lose my mind when I see the mismatches. So of course I see the What the Dunks, and it's, what are these? These are the greatest shoes I have ever seen in my life. A few years ago, Christmas Day, I open up a box. My wife had got me a present, and she got me a pair of What the Dunks. And if you've ever seen a grown man cry when opening up a pair of shoes on Christmas, so those are my prized possession, and I wear them. Everybody, I nothing is dead stocked in my collection. I wear everything. But so that was, I mean, everyone has new Grails now, but
Right.
When it comes to the pair, that's it for me. It's What the Dunks.
Are you still kind of rocking like your old stuff, or are you actually able to kind of hunt down and track like some of the newer joints?
I will frequently pay the shoe hostage holders. I don't like that I have to do it, but we're put in such a terrible spot right now with the way that the collecting has to go. Of And like everything is released through a draw, and you fall in love with a pair of shoes. And if you don't hit, what are you supposed to do? I don't like the cycle that we've created for these resellers, that people are making so much money by depriving me of buying the thing that I want. You don't even want it. You don't even want the shoes. You want to buy them to sell them to me, and I'm the one who wants them. So the whole system sucks.
Yeah. In terms of like current footballers that are pretty well tapped into sneakers, like which one's your favorite from both just a style, but fantasy wise, worth adding into if you want to go with a sneaker heavy roster.
Sure. There's somebody on the Seahawks, I believe, and he gets customs made for cleats, but they're all like the super hyped Nike SB shoes. And he has someone out there who is making them like, these are really, really solid customs. And I'm like, everything's escaping my mind right now of which pairs, but I'm talking like hype beast Nike SBs, and he's getting custom cleats of them made, and it is so gnarly to see those whenever I run into them on my IG feed.
The Dunk ID program came back like a month ago, 2 months ago. I cooked these bad boys up, and gun bottle.
There we go.
Yeah, I had to do it, so that's been fun. I haven't been to a game because those prices are just, But
we had to make some deals.
Yeah. Well, when I'm back in what are they calling it? The Foot Center? Those are going to be it. One last question. What do you got on feet today? What SBs are we going with?
So I don't even know how you announce it, but they're based off of the artist, I believe, Piet Mondrian's, something like that, where he's known for going with the primary colors. Mine are super dingy. I made the mistake of like, these are canvas. If you're not familiar with this shoe, it's a white canvas. And then I don't even know what this material is for the colors, but I attempted to clean them once as an uneducated cleaner, and I think I made them worse. So now they are just super dirty. But these were, back in the day, these were a must-have for me. A band that my wife and I listened to when we were, dating, and kind of the music that we were falling in love to was a rock band called Silverchair. They released an album, and that was the cover, was based off of that guy's art. And so the timing was just wild, man, of like, I'm a young man in love. I love this album. And then the shoe that I'm collecting and love, they released those. So I was able to snag those for retail. Shout out to Cowtown for letting me come and pick these up, because these bad boys, I've looked them up. Ooh, they are not cheap. These ones brand new now are not a cheap pair of shoes. So mine don't look brand new, but I still wear them.
Well, thank you, Mike, again. Everyone, this is Luis Torres at the SoleSavy podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow wherever you're watching or listening to. And again, Mike, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to tuning into the season. Hopefully this year I can come out with a win. We'll see.
Dude,
how it goes down.
You listen. We'll get you there.
Sounds good, Mike. Thank you so much.